I would like to request our moderator to please join us on stage. Please put your hands together for Mr. Shurith Dev Sharma. Shurith Dev Sharma, our founding partner, SmartSolve, joining us right here on stage. Well, Mr. Dev Sharma is a retail expert with more than 3 decades of experience from NIFT Delhi in 1991, and he has worked in India, Asia Pacific and global leadership roles with brands such as Titan, Levi's, the Landmark Group, Jockey and Crocs. Well, presently he's an angel advisor and he's also an angel investor, business consultant and leadership mentor based out of Bengaluru, partnered both established with businesses and startups. Lovely having you with us here, sir. Well, I would now like to invite our panel members to please join us on stage. Well, the first person who's stepping up to the stage to join us is Mr. Himanshu Dhiman, who's our Senior Director, Fossil E-Commerce APAC, joining us right here. Please welcome him with a round of applause. He has 13 years of work experience primarily in e-commerce and analytics. He has developed an in-depth understanding of back-end systems and front-end e-retail operations. Himanshu is currently associated with Fossil Group INC, where he leads the e-commerce business for Fossil Group in Asia Pacific. Lovely having you with us. Welcome. Our next speaker who's joining us on stage is Mr. Narinder Mahajan, CEO ODN. Please welcome him with a round of applause. Mr. Narinder is a retail specialist for close to 18 years. Mr. Narinder has worked with game-changing organizations across different industries and formats of consumer retail. Well, in 2015, he founded ODN Digital Services, which helps 150 plus consumer brands in 20 plus product categories achieve their e-commerce and digital conversion goals. Welcome, sir. Hearty welcome. Our next speaker who's joining in with us on stage is Mr. Saeed Pirzada, Product Manager of Vinculum. May we have him with us on stage, please. Mr. Saeed is certified CSPO entrepreneur or UX designer, product manager with a total of 5+ years experience in leading cross-functional teams to plan, build, launch and manage world-class SaaS, B2B and B2C, artificial intelligence-based products and solution. Created, owned and launched products in UK, Singapore, Indonesia and India for retail marketing, financial services industry. Experience includes leading project sprints, ensuring a high-quality delivery with global brands. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand to all our panel members and our moderator, and the session is handed on to Mr. Shurith Dev Sharma. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please, esteemed speakers, before I sit down, I'm just going to tell you a short story. This is a story about a man who's got entangled in some legal wrangles and he's gone to a lawyer. And the lawyer is going to charge him some money. And his friend tells him, why are you going to the lawyer? You see all those books that are there in the lawyer's room, all the answers are there in those books. So why do you pay him money? You can just buy those books. And this guy says, you know, the reason I need to go to the lawyer is because the lawyer knows in which volume and in which page the answer is. And that is the expertise we seek, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the expertise that we have in this August panel today to throw light on a subject that is so interesting that while, you know, it seems serious, but as we go along, we learn so many things. This is about the first stage of e-commerce, which is listing the product. Now, all of us use e-commerce, right? We feel it's so easy. We just take out our phone and we Google or we go to a website and we see something and we order. But there's tremendous hard work that goes on behind it. And to showcase how it is done, we've got a brand which all of us know about, Fossil, and the people who've partnered with Fossil in this journey. So we've got Narinder, and Narinder will talk about his company and the kind of work that he does. We've got Saeed from Vinculum, who's going to talk about the backbone that is provided. But we'll start with Himanshu of Fossil, and before that I'll just throw some numbers at you. So Fossil is an international name, you're aware, right? Just absorb these numbers, friends. They're using the listing tool across 9 countries. Himanshu, that's right. Himanshu will talk to us which countries those are. 45 plus marketplaces, 200,000 plus SKUs. And SKUs having 200 plus attributes. An attribute is like a product characteristic. So the chances of duplication, the chances of mistakes are enormous. So the first question, Himanshu, to you is if you could throw some light on what are the challenges that come up if listing is not proper, and what have you been going through in terms of solving this problem? And once you answer, we will also pass on the same question to Narendra and then to Said. Over to you, Himanshu.
Yeah, thanks, Shurit. So as you mentioned, it's probably the most underestimated step in building an e-commerce business, but probably the most irritating, time-consuming, and it's absolutely difficult. The complexity rises as you deal with more categories, as you deal with more languages, and of course, the more markets means more marketplaces, and as we were listening in ONDC session, right, we have rules. Platforms have the rules, and we have to follow those rules. One platform might call something blue, another might call it teal blue, and then you have no option. You have to go with teal blue. So it's a pretty complex task. So definitely the basic challenges come from these rules creates the basic challenges. The first challenge that, how can you efficiently do it? Would you put people in different markets who understand different languages, who understand the local platforms? Would you do that? Who then closely work with the marketplaces, which means if you are, for example, for us in 9 markets, do we keep 18 people to do that? So that's the first question, the first challenge. Moving on, it's not about, solving that first challenge. Maybe as a brand, you would want to solve the first challenge like that because you first want to understand the landscape. However, landscape is changing, and it is important for all the brands to be kind of progressive in terms of the technology. Even if you do it manually, the listing requires, reaction time is pretty less. So there are hard timelines that you are chasing. How would you enable then these 2 people in each market, these 18 people theoretically 18 people for us in 9 markets, how do you enable them to quickly do things for the SKUs they want to? So typical challenges would become, what products do you want to list? Do you want to list the newness or any key SKUs that are about to go on sale, 2 weeks later? What do you want to list? How to quickly assemble that information? And that's where probably tech comes in. So the kind of problem statements that we have faced in listing were about these, efficiency and doing it scalably. So that led to us exploring a solution, and that's how our journey started with Vinculum.
Excellent, excellent. Narendra, if you could just add to what he said, because he talked about, we talked about different countries, different formats, different marketplaces. If you could just throw some light on what is the work that you are doing with Fossil to help them.
Yeah, hello everyone. So, I think it's a very typical problem to coexist on multiple marketplaces and across different countries altogether. Even just for one marketplace, you have to do, so much of analysis and understanding of what kind of content the marketplaces are asking so that their set of customers, they have built those guidelines looking at their set of customers, how they shop, what kind of search they do on the website. So they try to cover as much as information as possible in the listing sheet itself. It's not just about the attributes, it's also about great images, today we see a lot of video content and other stuff as well. But I think everything is coming from how consumer preferences are, there on that platform. So that is just about one platform that the brand needs to understand how exactly, this whole listing thing works. And then you multiply that, understanding with, say, 45 different marketplaces. So I think the problem becomes really, really complex there. And I think for a brand like Fossil, it was imperative to uniform the content and centralize the content, because every country earlier was making their own content in their own understanding, in their own way, which were diluting the overall the brand guidelines, the global guidelines that brand is supposed to follow as well. And of course, there was a lot of duplication, a lot of time getting wasted, and content getting created for similar articles across the world. So that's what the problem statement was, and what we did is that we combined all these marketplaces intelligence into one single place in terms of images, in terms of attributes, in terms of searchable keywords, and other things as well. And that's how we started the whole the project, I think 4 years back. I think what Himanshu mentioned just now is that the listing looks like it's very simple, but I guess earlier, like if I talk about 10 years back when this e-commerce wave was setting in, when Flipkarts and Fashion and News of the world were just becoming very prominent in the space. Earlier that time, phone clicked images and few attributes were sufficient to go online as well. But now you are competing, and now everybody in the competition space is struggling for the same customer. This listing content lies in the bottom of the funnel where you already spent crores of rupees in getting that customer on that product page. Now you want that all that ROI to convert into something very meaningful. You can't afford to go wrong on that page. So in today's time, we have to beat the competition. We have to understand what the consumers are really looking for, what are they searching for, and that intelligence also is changing every month, every 2 months, and that's what the specialization we bring in. And I think it's very valuable to understand today that e-commerce is not just about listing the product, it's also about understanding the customer, the competition, the data, how the entire analysis of sales should flow back to the listing content as well. Yeah, so
That's fantastic, right? So what Narendra just said, it's not just about listing the product, it's about understanding the customer, competition, trends, etc. So we often say that, we believe in simplicity, but the most complex thing in the world is probably making things simple. So Saeed, if you could add to this from a technology angle, what has Vinculum done to make this seemingly extremely complex task into a very simple, unified experience for the end user? Please, over to you, Saeed.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Yeah. Hello? Okay. So I'll start with the complexity first we are handling for the Fossil, so people will understand more. So technically, we are talking about here 45 marketplaces. So if you talk about one marketplaces, 200 attributes with 20 images. Just understand one manual activity done by the person, how much errors can be done. And if you have a listing and a campaign and a marketing budget has been spent, and you want that product to be going live within a span of time, and the listing is not in place, but the marketing budget has been spent. So there is a lot of risk involved when the listing part is concerned. Now, second impact comes around what are the quality of data coming in the listing. When you're talking about 45 marketplace, what is the source of truth? So what we say here is we transform that data as per the marketplace requirement. When we are saying what we do here, the image transformation for single image for the 45 marketplace transformation. Now, what I mean for transformation, I'll explain here. Let's say for Amazon, 2000 by 2000 image is fine. And for Tokopedia is only 1200 by 1200. For Bleeply, 763 by 763. It can be of any dimension. Understand this is a complexity because nobody can do a manual task by just fitting people because you have to have a brand consistency as well, and you also have to meet the marketplace requirement. That is for one part. The second is the price. You might have observed that here we are talking about different countries, currencies, and all, right? So you have a different pricing system every corner of the world, right? Then how are you going to update these marketplaces with a different pricing? We also provide that flexibility from the WinLister that you can update the different pricing in the channel. So for every channel, there will be a different pricing because the business decisions are coming from the different business units. Because everyone, even if you are a multinational company, the pricing cannot be decided at one place. It depends on their pricing rates, interests, and whatever the government tax are there. So a lot of complications comes there. Now the mapping part. When you are talking about mapping, what I meant for the mapping is like, let's say you are having some product. Here you would name it as category as fashion or footwear. But in other marketplace, it might be just accessories, or it might be with a different name in a different language. How will you handle this complexity? Because your team might be not having those translator in place. You just have the information, okay, I want to put this product into this category. So this complexity, we reduce it. We reduce it by mapping the correct attribute to the marketplaces. We transform that data. If it is the API available, we push that data directly. Otherwise, we'll convert it into a template format, which you can upload directly and get a 100% successful rate. This is very important. Okay, if the people who are doing e-commerce, you might have seen every marketplace give you the quality score. If you list the product, it will give you the quality score of the product, whether it is 100%, 60%, 70%. It gives you the personalization of the product. Now, people might ask, okay, what will happen if I just put the mandatory attribute and not put the optional attribute? You can ask your marketing team as well, right? The SEO will define the searching mechanism. Now, again, I will break down the more problem. Like, let's say Amazon has right now 100 million customer, and you are just listing the product. How the customer will find that product? Very easily. That defined by the quality of the product that you are putting in. What do you mean by quality? I'm not talking about the production quality. I'm talking about the enrichment of data. How your product is being searched is defined by the listing mechanism. It is no other mechanism is being done. So if you're selling online, your product quality has to be more, as much you can do it. But that, again, the second part is the SEO. Your SEO mechanism also has to be very accurate. So whatever the words and the keywords you're putting in the description will define your searching mechanism, because the marketing budget will be spent on it. The customer will search your product by that keywords only, and on the marketplace, that will be shown up. If you're not putting this all data correctly, then you will never find a product instead of listing on the product. So we help in a different manner. We helped a brand like Fossil with the 45 countries effectively, and we have got a more than 95% success rate. Okay, 5% I take as a granted as a rejection is very easy. Why? Because what happens is when you put an incomplete data, it is called a data quality, because 5% is highly possible that I cannot say 100% is wrong to be placed in the panel. That 5% it happens that, okay, they have to correct some data, the links or certain requirement. So we do, and the will listing provide a very effective channel to transform your data and to list your product on a different marketplace.
Fantastic, fantastic. We learned about data enrichment, right? When we're talking about searching, if I don't know what exactly to search for, imagine if in Google Maps I don't enter my destination correctly, I may end up in a completely different place. It's fantastic. Himanshu, question back to you. When you were making the decision for getting a listing tool and getting partners, right? What were you looking for? Because this is something that would also help others in this room who are perhaps in that stage that you were some years earlier. What were you looking for? What were the parameters for your decision? And what made you choose go with Odeon and Vinculum, if you could throw some light on? And also talk a little bit about the pricing he just touched upon, if you could also expand upon that.
Sure. So what we were looking for was a very high degree of customization for sure, because we had certain use cases on our side. So for example, it includes giving the front-end people the capability to search the products by different types. You could, so today our front-end team is enabled to either search for a particular year, particular season, a list of SKUs, you can put some, a particular brand. So all those cuts are available in the tool for us to say, and quickly decide that what I want to list, and at a click of a button get that data and just start listing it. So that was one which was a very custom kind of a solution that we were looking at. To kind of finalize that product, we were very clear that we wanted to go with a tech partner because paradigms changed over time. So when we started with Vinculum, it was just a kind of the mapping tool which we all talked about. But over a period of time, we also went into API integration. So today our Vinculum solution is integrated with our China partner. So Chinese partner is already getting all the data directly. An integration is underway with our Indian partner. So we were definitely looking for one tech partner who is on one hand willing to have some sort of a custom made solution for us, and on the other hand also is a partner who is also able to scale with time. So for example, I was just having a chat the other day and I learned that Vinculum is now integrated for content APIs with Lazada and Shopee. So now that's something which I'll further explore. And so these are the kind of things I wanted a partner who's progressive and not just depending on us, but is moving in the tech space independent of us or our asks. So that was the big reason. Of course, we had a RFP process through which various vendors bidded, so cost had a play. We also liked that in the Vinculum solution, it was not left on us to find the operations partner, because most of the tech companies do not do the operations part of it, because the one-time heavy lifting is still required. So Odeon, that's where the Odeon came in, and Vinculum and Odeon were kind of jointly pitching for this as a solution bid. So that was the other reason why we kind of tilted toward Vinculum, because we were finding a good operations partner as well. We also found the costing to be very transparent and customized to the T. So for example, it was not one large cost, given to us, but it's very modular. So if we, shoot some products with Odeon, that's a separate cost. Editing is a separate cost. Putting a watermark is a separate cost. Writing a beauty copy is a separate cost. So I really know what I'm paying for, and I might not be paying the same each season. So I think the modular cost was something which is also, we found it to be pretty unique within the other bidders. Those were the kind of things which we
Fantastic. So we heard words like progressive, we heard words like transparent, right? We heard words like where the partner is not so much dependent on you, they are coming to you with new possibilities, right? That's excellent, excellent. Narinder, if you could kindly throw more light, because I think the sheer complexity of it boggles my mind, right? The number of products, the number of marketplaces, and the speed, because we heard Venkat talk about quick commerce, and I think increasingly we are becoming more impatient, right? One day Prime service is now pretty much accepted and expected rather. So if you could just talk about how you handle these, and then we will hand over to Saeed. Also to comment on the speed part. I'm really interested in knowing about the speed part. Over to you.
A large task when it was being discussed in the early days. Something that we also have never attempted that scale of operations to even imagine to come together as a master sheet, master data set. But we took one day at a time, and there were I think one-time effort was of about 2 to 3 months, where we studied all the marketplaces, and there were hundreds and hundreds of hours that went into just mapping up the variables in the back end. There were thousands in numbers. That GREY is mapped to GRAY of another marketplace. It's a mammoth task, because it's not just attributes, but it's also drop downs that I have to go hand in hand. So of course it was a very, very unimaginable for us at that time, but I think we did a decent job there, I guess. So I think it's a 4 years old relationship now. Another thing that I want to point out is that how we did that is, as I mentioned, that there were a lot of mapping and understanding of guidelines across marketplaces that was happening. At the same time, I think there's continuous evolution all the time, because marketplaces change their guidelines, and we have to be really updated, because while we upload the articles, they should not get rejected because guidelines have changed in the back end. So we get a lot of information from Vinculum, because I guess they work more closely with a lot of marketplaces, and of course we also get notifications. So we keep updating the master sheets as well in the back end. Another thing I want to point out is the sheer complexity now. If you look at Fossil's end, as Himanshu mentioned, that a guy sitting in Japan, he just have to download the sheet. For him, it's the most amazing thing that we feel really happy about, that the problem is solved to the level that the sheet that is downloaded is in an uploadable format of Rakuten Japan. Okay, so it's not that you download something and then you convert into Rakuten Japan sheet. The Rakuten Japan sheet actually comes with all the attributes filled in and all. So we shoot about 20 images for one article, Rakuten sheet will have just the right relevant 5 angles that will go live and get everything approved in one go. I think that's a beauty of, as you mentioned, that most simplest things are most difficult things as well. It is something that we have crafted over years as well. There were a lot of participation from Fossil, a lot of sittings with Vinculum team to make it perfect, I think. But I think now it is at a stage where it is seamless. It is being discussed at a global level now to be going beyond APAC. I think this is what I would like to add here. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much. Saeed, over to you. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to add the speed part. So let's say we are talking about here the volume. I have to make the audience understand. So let's say there are only 1200 SKU we are talking about here for 45 marketplaces with 18 images. Just multiply that, which is coming around 9,72,000, which is around 1 million, items I have to process, only images, along with the 200 attributes. Normally we do, at talking about the speed, we completed all these activity with the complete download sheet available for the marketplace within 2 weeks for all 45 marketplaces. This is the speed we are giving right now, which is already done and tested by the client as well. So why we are doing this, okay, just to highlight that part, because as I said, right, the seasonal change cannot be happening for months, otherwise the next season will come. The first. The second, the activity of the digital marketing and the campaign. If you see, in India, we might not see the multiple seasons, but if you see the Shopee and Lazada and Tokopedia, specifically Southeast Asia, they have every month the season is coming for the events, like 111, 222, 333, every month they have events. They want the changes. If you want to change the catalog, we do in a 1 day. If let's say for a particular marketplace, you want to change the catalog, we did in 1 day. Within 24 hours, we just replace everything. So that is the efficiency we are providing. Definitely, that is the focus area for us to improve further.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think that kind of speed really boggles the mind. So this is a question that really all of us ask, and we've all seen advertisements of before and after, whether it be for rain or whether it be for anything else. So Himanshu, if you could just tell us a before and after, before you did a listing and after, how would you measure the efficiency of this tool? And what has been the impact on business? What are the business measurables, the metrics or the KPIs that you track to say that this is actually working?
Sure. So cost is the obvious one, so I'll bring that to the last. But probably from a consumer standpoint, if we put consumer in the center of everything, then it's a bit of a dichotomy that, you know, digital is supposed to be very fast, and that's how everyone expects it. Everything online will be very quick, available at a click of a button. But what we observed that before we were using a proper tool to do our listing, our online stores were getting delayed by approximately 2 months versus our offline stores. So while we are in the digital world, the products were available at a delay in the digital world, which is not what a consumer would expect. A consumer would expect online going live first. So that was not happening, just not happening. So today, again, that's, I think, the one big measurable that we've achieved, that we are able to launch the season on time, which is the brand guideline of the season launch. So we are going to match the offline now. So that's the one first big impact that we see. The other large impact is kind of a snowball effect. As you keep listing products on time, season after season, you realize that a lot of your large catalog is properly listed. But if you keep on missing some seasons, then a lot of online sales is still discounted, right? For most of the brands, that's still true. And a lot of these discounted items are typically past season items. So this is what I call ad hoc listing. The normal listing will be what you list each season. Ad hoc listing is something that is not product of that season, but you want to list it because you cracked a deal with a partner. Now it is supposed to go live. A marketing campaign will push it. So there is again a date. There is a campaign date. And 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 are good examples which we discussed. So that is the ad hoc listing part. The volume of our ad hoc listing has gone down with time because we list all the products on time at the time of the season launch. So over a period of time, ad hoc listing has come down. Ad hoc listing speed has again gone up because you can again filter by SKUs and quickly list them. So these are, I think, like the business metrics that we have seen in terms of timing. Costs are pretty obvious ones where two types of costs were involved. One is on the people side, having different people in different markets to do the same thing. Now we do it centrally out of our global business services based out of Bangalore for entire APAC. And again, discussions are, to do it for the globe. The other cost was about creation. So images are being shot, but then someone has to edit it to the size of the marketplace, put a watermark, fossil authorized store, whatever, requirement of the market. So that is the creation cost, editing and creation cost. So those costs we have kind of completely, removed from the equation. So those are the kind of before and after picture broadly. But yeah, I mean, the key one continues to be the expression of that, last person who is actually doing the listing. That person today is happier. So, at the end of the day, that's also important.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. I think we are all working for just one person and one person only, which is the end consumer. As long as we realize that, and that is why the brands like Fossil continue to lead the market. Naren, the question for you, if you were to, let's say there are many people here who probably know others who are wanting to get into listing, from a content creation management perspective, is there any guidance, best practice, advice you'd like to give that would help them embark on this journey?
Yeah, I think it's everything, I keep repeating, everything boils down to your consumer. If you know him or her, I think you would know what they're looking for. And I think that's what should reflect in the content that goes out for your products. I think if the answer of doing an A+ content or a video today or reels on your social media, if the answer of or the reason of doing this is because everybody is doing it, I think we are looking at it very, very wrongly, I would say. I think it needs a proper audit, it needs a proper understanding of what kind of consumers we are talking about here, what kind of space we are in, what kind of products these are, how people search online for this product category particularly. I think a lot of answers will start coming in once we have understood all these nuances before we start even working on the content. If we have done this much understanding for like once in a year kinds, I think we are sorted for what kind of content and what pieces of content we need to make in the coming year. That's my advice. I think we work with a lot of brands. A lot of times we hear that, reels are very popular or A+ content. Yeah, Amazon is pushing for a lot of A+ content these days because they know in the back end that the conversions improve when you do A+ content. But is it relevant for your category? Is it relevant for your product? I think the answer has to come from within the whole intelligence of the brand itself. It should not come from somebody else. And that's the only advice I give to everyone. It is not about, we are always there to convert or to, bring the best possible content in the best format possible, in the fastest speed possible as well. And I think with this approach, we interact with almost all our clients, and I think that's what helps us build a very strong relationship over time, where we become partners in success and not just selling them our services. I think we need to look at as they say that going back in is the only way out always. So I think the answers should come what kind of a brand you are and what consumers you are dealing with.
Excellent. It's fascinating learnings, but I think we are running short of time, so we will end with maybe just a couple of more questions. Question, Said, for you. Two questions, actually. One is, Fossil is a very big brand, selling across multiple marketplaces, multiple countries, very large range of products. But is this solution also fit for brands which are not as grand in scale at this point of time? Probably will want to obviously go there. Would you suggest Lister to them, is question one. And question two is, if somebody's in the market for this kind of product, right, why would they want to come with Vinculum?
Okay, thank you for asking this question. I think this is what we are talking about, growth here everywhere. So why should not I refer to the Winlister is a basic question, right? So anyone who is selling in a multi-channel, let's say right now they are under 2 to 3 marketplaces in Indian market as well, and if they want to expand their business, they have to use WinLister anyhow. Why? Because these are the capabilities that we are doing for the brand, and everyone wants a growth. Definitely, because every brand is they want to sell across the channels. Right now, you cannot say, okay, I'll stick to one marketplace, I will not sell other. It is impossible for a brand unless you are signed exclusively. You have to sell multiple channels. Now, selling on a multiple channel will come with a complication. That's why if you want a growth, if you want the uniqueness of the data, quality of the data, and you want a consistency of the brand, I think we missed one point here. When we are talking about WinLister, is the master data which is coming from, we are converting that data into the multiple marketplaces. Okay, this is the basic concept we have to understand, that the brand, whoever is giving is a one-time data. According to the marketplace, according to attribute, we are converting it, right? So it means your consistency of the brand is managed. Whenever there is a problem, you can go back and correct at one place. You don't have to correct at 30 places or 45 places or 10 places. You don't have to do that. It is the one source of truth. Consistency of the brand, growth is there. So obviously, I would suggest a WinLister to do it. Anybody, like a small entrepreneur also, if he's selling online right now, if you see in the COVID era, the many people have started selling online on a multiple channels. So definitely, it is very helpful. Now, second part, for the why, how many people are going to get into the e-commerce? If you see even the last 2 years in the COVID era, that e-commerce business has grown in a 2-digit. This is the only part which is growing as a 2-digit growth. If you see Asian market, Tokopedia, Lazada and all, they're growing at a 35% rate as of year on year from the post-COVID as well. Even this year, they have posted around 35% growth on the Shopee and all. So if you want to grow in the business, we have to be suggesting this product very high.
Excellent, excellent. Venkat, you want to say something?
Yeah, just clarify also what categories are popular online and where we can help.
Okay, for the categories right now, apparels, fashions, footwear, watches categories, accessories. Accessories has a lot of range category. You can say the bags, wallet, belt. It can be as small as bag, because the accessories has a lot of range and it has a lot of variation. And home decor right now it is coming up as more people are getting into the customized products are selling online, because as an Indian, we know that there are a lot of products are selling online. We have a very small seller because the Amazon and other marketplaces started reaching out to the small seller who has a customized product to sell online. So these are the top categories, I would say, that they are flourishing, but there are others, cosmetics and beauty products are also flourishing. In spite of Nykaa, you cannot have only on Nykaa, right? You have to sell on other market, because right now the only concept is very simple. You have to sell wherever the customer is. So for that, these categories will suffice.
Superb, superb. We just have one last question, and we started with the customer in our midst, which is Fossil, so we end with the customer. So we'd like to believe that both Orion and Vinculum are customer-obsessed companies, right? And that's only expressed through customer success and what the customer feels. So you've been in this relationship for 4 years now. If you could comment, Himanshu, a little bit about how this journey has been thus far, and what do you feel? I'm sure you think you made the right choice, but what's your ongoing feeling about the way this relationship is going?
Yeah, I think what I appreciate most about this relationship is responsiveness. Any product we build, so any product we build will have problems. It will have the failures of the fair share of it. But I think what is important is quickly recognizing it and making things right. So responsiveness is, I think, I really appreciate till date. The other is on the innovation side. So continuing to think next, what next? So we build a mapper, now we're talking about API integrations, done in 2 markets. Tomorrow ONDC will happen. I'm sure Vinculum will have an integration with ONDC. So I think the progressiveness is the other part, which I really appreciate from both the partners as well.
Thank you, thank you. We just got a question from the audience. So Himanshu, this question is also for you, and if others want to comment on that, also fine. Is that, are there any specific 1 or 2 hurdles that businesses often don't keep in mind and that they should, and which listing can solve? Beyond whatever we talked about, is there anything that is perhaps not so obvious that...
From a listing perspective?
Yeah.
I think changing guidelines of marketplaces is one thing, which is, because whenever you set up a system, that's how you start. So it's not sufficient to have that mapping in one time. So things will change, marketplaces will change. So I think having a system to keep that in track is a challenge, which like we also learned through the course of time. That's one which we have not discussed. I think image is probably the other. For example, there are some marketplaces who would request links to be put as the images. These are public server links. Some marketplaces till today also expect a zip folder download. So like Japan, ZozoTown still expect a zip folder download. So that's the other kind of slight nuance which needs to be kept in mind.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic, right? And I remember our keynote speaker mentioning a word called inevitable. It reminded me of Thanos from the Avengers. But exactly as ONDC is inevitable, exactly as e-commerce is inevitable, I think Himanshu just hit the nail on the head saying change is inevitable. And I think partners like Odeon, partners like Vinculum help you ride over that change. Right, Rachna, I think we are over for time, right? So on behalf of Vinculum, I would like to thank all the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
It's been a real pleasure and privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our moderator. Let's give a big hand once again to Mr. Shurid Dev Sharma. We also have our panel members who gave us so much of knowledge and the real usage of Vinculum products and how it is useful. Let's give a big hand once again to Mr. Himanshu Dhiman, Mr. Narendra Mahajan and Mr. Syed Piazada. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.